Oh, hey there. The Subaru Forester Wilderness Edition. This is a trim that they're adding to most of their products to tell you this is their most off-road or outdoorsy capable design. From high-load roof rails to more ruggedized suspension or greater ride height, and then the things that they do in terms of exterior accents with the cladding, the colors that say Wilderness. On the interior, you have customized all-season floor mats, and then the gold accents, the gold bullion accents everywhere. So it's just subtle. It's really not crazy, and it's not hyper gimmicky. Because the truth is, because of the ground clearance and this capability and getting in hard places and difficult places like rocks, off-road trails, as long as you're going at a steady, slow pace, there's not much that this thing can't do compared to other SUVs and CUVs. Subaru is doing something with their exterior design, and you're seeing it on a lot of cars. They're trying to go for this overly like outdoorsy, ruggedy adventure style. And all this black plastic cladding is supposed to prevent all this damage. There's aero benefits to it, but it's just not that attractive. And these vehicles are not about like being eye-catching and like turning around at it and be like, oh yeah, it's hot. It's about being functional. And everything Subaru set out to do with these, they have achieved in functionality and usability. Interior space, it is mostly physical. This is blending their last generation design with the new one. So you have the upgraded infotainment, but you still retain all the physical controls for HVAC, tuning, and volume. The touchscreen is basically as simple to use as possible. You get your phone paired up, you can use all of that, and then you never really have to interact with it again because everything else is in the physical realm. Now they do have this tri-screen thing, the informational screen up top with the front-facing camera that's built into it, and the gauge cluster has a screen, and a lot of this is just redundancy. They haven't got to a place where they've consolidated all of this, and the problem is they've tacked on all these extra buttons, and when you utilize this, it's one of the biggest negatives. Even knowing how to use all this stuff, I'm like, this makes no logical sense where they put things, why it's here, and you're constantly struggling because you don't have the muscle memory to feel where you're using it. So in future, I'm sure they're going to clean all this up, but that's one of the negative parts about this. The interior space also is a great blend of usability. There's good pocket storage. You know, although I can't really find a good place to put my phone, there's no wireless charger. I mean, you basically have to put in the armrest, which is probably where it should be to begin with. Cup holders are kind of in an inconvenient spot, like stuffed here. There's ergonomic issues with it, but mostly you're going to work around it because the big value, one of the reasons why you buy this, is the cargo capacity. The hatch design and with the rear seats down and the durability of this interior, you can really load it full of a bunch of crap. You can put your pets in here and not worry about, oh my God, are they going to destroy my $20,000 leather? Everything cleans up, everything wipes up. There's a good blend of soft plastics where you don't feel like you're in a garbage can. And then there's hard plastics where it needs to be. And again, that's what Subaru does best. They know people are going to use the hell out of this and they need it to last. And they're not, the people that are buying this aren't worried about all the flashy gimmicks and the latest and greatest stuff. So let's get into the shop and we're going to talk about some of the mechanical changes to the Wilderness Forester.
Underneath the Subaru Forester Wilderness Edition. Yes, we're underneath another wilderness vehicle, but Mark, this is a special car because it's off-road capable day one, just like the other wilderness edition we drove.
Yeah, when I'm going out hunting for Crocs, or I'm wearing my urban, protection, which I don't even have enough room to fit under this thing, this is what you want because you're going to dominate most landscapes, Jack. So tell me why somebody would choose this over, let's say, like a Chevy Equinox or...
Yeah, like a regular RAV4.
Yeah.
So you have a full-time all-wheel drive system that is not front-wheel drive biased. It is symmetrical front and rear. This has a real skid plate, day one. It has 9.5 inches of ground clearance when it is the Wilderness Forester. The Forester is about an inch or two taller than the Outback. It has revised suspension. It has taller coil springs and different shocks. It also has 17-inch all-terrain tires. They are the Geolander tires, which should make this a little bit more capable off-road and in bad weather. It also has a revised drivetrain, so the gear ratios are a little bit wider to make sure you are in a more appropriate power band when going off-road. However, this does take a fuel economy hit when compared to the regular Forester. It also has a revised set of roof rails. So if you are statically parked, you and your loved ones, up to 700 pounds of your loved ones, can sit on the roof with a tent. However, when you are moving, it goes down to 200 pounds.
That's not American weights. Because my family is way more than 700 pounds. In fact, me and my significant other are well over 700 pounds. And just, even waxing the roof, it's hard to get her off there.
So the other big difference between this and the Outback is the limited drivetrain options. This again is a CVT, which is God's transmission. But in this vehicle, it's mated to a naturally aspirated flat 4. It produces under 200 horsepower. It gets you to 60 over 8 seconds. And unlike the Outback, you cannot get a turbocharger.
You know what? When I drove this, I had no idea. That feels plenty fast. I honestly thought it had a turbo when I drove it because everything has a turbo now, so I expected it. But I'm like, it's pretty quick. So if you're worried about that, don't be worried about it unless you're in high elevation. That would probably be the only time that you would notice it.
Let me clarify something, Mark. This is not a fast vehicle.
No, it's quick. For the target demographic that's buying this, you're not like
sundial enthusiasts.
No. This you think this is something that our European counterparts talk about in some of the other countries, like, oh, you guys are spoiled. All our engines are diesels, or they eat shit. They suck. They're slow. So we get all these bigger upsize engines here, and everything we have is way more powerful. So really, putting it in perspective, this is quicker than a RAV4.
Maybe.
I mean, the transmission doesn't make it feel quicker, but I mean, it's on par, if not quicker than that.
The one hit, though, I will say, and some of it is due to the wilderness trim level with all the off-roady stuff, the fuel economy is not amazing.
Yeah, you do definitely take a hit, which we'll talk about that in the drive. But did you talk about ground clearance?
Yeah, I did. 9.5 inches, Mark.
Yeah. Largest product.
Mark, it's nice to see that our Patagonia sponsorship has finally matured. Are you going to take me to REI finally?
I'm in deep mud mode, and let's see how this gets off the line.
Nothing gets my like a CVT, Mark. With fake shifts.
If anything, this is like you go into a boardroom and you're like, what's one of the biggest reasons we want to switch to EV? Just listening to this rattle and clatter and just make a bunch of noise all the time. You can't physically drive this thing with your foot down without getting nauseated. And I've puked in my top hat several times as driving this.
Well, Subaru's kind enough, though. If you are falling asleep and you're at a stop, this car will wake you back up with a nice mule kick.
Yeah, let's test out the start-stop, because really, that's one of the worst things about this. And you have to turn it off, I'm not kidding. So come to a stop. Oh, well, I've overheated the car now. It knows I'm making fun of it, so I won't do it. But yeah, the start-stop system, which I've talked about in other Subaru videos, is one of the most obnoxious. This engine was never designed for start-stop. And what it does, it feels like when it starts and stops, it's so rough, and it feels like you're getting donkey kicked in the back of the car. So I turn it off because it's really obnoxious, to the point where the car, if you don't have your foot on the brake all the way, it will actually lurch forward.
Patagonia is going to revoke our sponsorship, though, Mark. They have the stop-start for the environment.
Yeah, I know why it's there. You don't have to tell me I'm not f***ing stupid!
How does this compare to the Outback that we drove that is also
it's the same.
The Wilderness Edition?
It's the same thing. I mean, you can't tell them apart driving them. The good things about this, okay, we just spent 10 minutes or whatever it was, 2 minutes, talking about all this crap that nobody cares about. The reality is, I really like driving this, aside from the droniness of the engine. The engine is the most annoying part of it. It's just like, it's quiet. Other than that, it's comfortable, and there's a lot of glass.
So it's quiet other than when you drive it and use it.
I mean, there's wind noise and stuff from all the glass in here, but that's one of the best things about it is the visibility part. The visibility is great. You're just on a daily grind. You can see all the way around you. When you're backing up, I never have to use the cameras. I can always see what's going on, and there's a lot of confidence that I get, along with the ride height is a little bit higher in here without feeling like a full-size SUV. You have more ground clearance than almost every other CUV and smaller SUV on the planet. And the all-wheel drive system is amazing.
Yes, it is.
Like, I drove it yesterday in the snow, and I just couldn't believe what this thing was doing. And obviously, we have different tires on here. But the way that the car, even with stability, all the driving aids on, it rotates through turns without plowing like a front-wheel drive system is, like on traditional on-demand.
Like in a RAV4, even
Right,
with snow
right.
tires.
It kind of pushes off like a front-wheel drive car. This does not do that. So drivability is great. It's super comfortable in here. Like, you just kind of forget what's going on around you. The usability of everything is mostly good, and I talked more about that on the interior. It's just a really satisfying, safe, and capable feeling wagon thing that I see why people love these to death. It really is just a great
You have
product.
the benefits of most of the handling characteristics of a traditional sedan, with the packaging of a full-blown SUV, with almost minivan levels of visibility,
right.
and a very, very strong residual value. These things hold their value great.
Yes.
So, I mean, there isn't a whole lot to complain about other than the drivetrain.
The normal person is going to get in here and they're going to think about a couple things. Does everything work? You know, how's the infotainment? How's everything laid out? And I think for the average person, there's just enough in here in terms of usability, functionality. You're going to be like, I like this thing. I like it a lot. I can live with this long term. Now, if you're somebody that's coming from a lot of different cars, you start to see more deficiencies compared to the other brands. And, you know, that's where you're going to have to weigh this. Is this really better than a traditional, like, small CUV, Jack? That's the big question.
I think this has a lot more character than, like, say you're coming from a Ford Escape or a lot of the American, more generic SUVs or CUVs. I would probably, honestly, just due to the drivetrain, probably pick a RAV4 over this. Just due to the fact that it has traditional gears, or if you wanted to go to an eCVT, the hybrid system in those vehicles is great. We have that Venza, and I get over 30 miles a gallon all day long, and this thing is...
It's barely like 24, barely.
Yeah.
And then we're in the cold, too. Oh, let's check out that start-stop system now, Jack.
Perfect. Cool.
All right, let's get into the final thoughts, Jack. Final thoughts on the Wilderness Forester. This is a trim level that may appeal to you. It adds a little bit more ruggedness. It gives you all the things that Subaru does well in one of their most off-road capable vehicles they've ever made. So I guess the thing is, for me, let me get this phone call real quick. This is Mark.
Hi, this is Charles from Dealer Servicing. Your file just came across my desk, and it looks like your vehicle may be at risk of losing coverage.
Oh, you're kidding, Charles? Charles, I need an extended warranty now. See, the thing is with the Subaru Wilderness, you're probably not going to need an extended warranty. It's probably going to last. And the big deal, it's almost $35,000 the way this is trimmed, and you can get it for less than that. And I think that's a big selling point for those that are tired of seeing this $40,000+ price tag on everything. It's a family hauler. It's a cargo hauler. It can do all seasons, pretty much everywhere, and you're going to get out of most inclement weather. And the off-road stuff that I've done with these Subarus is really, really incredible what it can do if you're at a constant slower speed. So I'm going to leave it at that. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next video.